"This child is not yours." The words hit me like a wrecking ball. "This can't be. You treacherous witch." Hold tight, because this story is wild. The kind where a single moment tears down a life that looks solid but was built on lies. My name is Daniel Cross. I'm 38 years old, and I climbed from nothing to running Cross Development Group, the top construction firm in Oakridge. I started as a laborer, rough hands, empty pockets, and nothing but drive. Today I oversee more than 200 workers across 3 states, handling projects worth millions every year. What I built is the textbook American dream. Discipline, accuracy, and relentless hustle turned me from a nobody into a wealthy contractor. 15 years ago, I married Vanessa, long seen as the prize of Oakridge, blonde, sharp, and the daughter of a former mayor. She carried the old family name proudly, though the coal fortune had dried up years before. She wore the role of a rich man's wife perfectly. Charity dinners, grand parties, and keeping up our estate on Maple Ridge as if she'd been born for that life. We had Ethan, now 14, who mirrors me in almost every way. He's got my grit and his mom's smarts, thriving in both school and sports. I coached his baseball team, and we spent weekends in the garage crafting everything from birdhouses to tables. Those father-son moments became a tradition I cherished, even as Vanessa slowly drifted away, always too busy with her social circles. When Vanessa announced she was pregnant 6 months ago, it should have been a miracle. After 14 years of marriage and several miscarriages that had broken her emotionally, we'd both assumed Ethan would remain our only child. We had made peace with that. We were grateful for the family we had. But from the instant she shared the news, something felt deeply wrong to me. Throughout the pregnancy, Vanessa shifted into someone I could hardly recognize. Once warm and involved, she grew cold and detached. She stopped including me in decisions, vanished for hours with weak excuses, and returned home with no shopping bags to back up her stories. She bought expensive items for no reason, took private calls, and smiled a way that looked secretive rather than happy. Marcus Reed, my business partner and best friend since high school, handles the financial side of Cross Development Group, while I run the operations. He kept noticing odd things, too. His wife, Lena, once spotted Vanessa at a cafe, leaning in close with a stranger nobody recognized. When Lena waved, Vanessa flinched like she'd been caught red-handed. She was glued to her phone, her face lighting up the way it does when you're texting someone you care about more than you should. "Man, she's off," Marcus told me one Friday over beers. Lena says she's out at weird times, jumpy, always looking over her shoulder. I brushed it off. I told myself it was hormones and stress. At 35, doctors call it advanced maternal age, higher risks, heavier emotional toll. After losing so many pregnancies, I figured Vanessa was fragile and overcautious, struggling to process this late surprise. The morning of the standard ultrasound, Vanessa's nerves went far beyond normal pregnancy worry. She pushed her food around without eating, checked every mirror like she was hunting for flaws, and carried an air of dread instead of joy. When I suggested we grab lunch afterward to celebrate seeing our baby, she gave a weak nod. No spark. Nothing. Our doctor, Henry Whitmore, had cared for our family for more than 10 years. He was in his 60s, silver-haired as temples, soft-spoken, with the kind of eyes that ease fear. He had brought dozens of children into the world in Oakridge, and his name carried weight for honesty and compassion. Because of Vanessa's past losses and her age, he kept a close watch on this pregnancy, always mixing caution with genuine concern for us both. I sat in his waiting room, half focused on my phone, scanning emails about our largest job yet, a high-end hotel project meant to cement Cross Development Group as the go-to builder across the region. Marcus had sent me a message about an investor named Adrian Blake asking questions about us. I made a mental note to look into it later. Then Dr. Whitmore came out, and he looked shattered. His steady manner was gone, replaced by shaking hands and a pale face. He asked me to step into his office, shut the door behind us, and began pacing the floor like he didn't know how to start. "Daniel, what I'm about to share is very hard. But you need the truth," he said, fixing me with eyes that carried enormous weight. "The scan shows the baby's growth doesn't match the dates Vanessa gave when we set her due date. The numbers point to conception about 26 weeks ago, not 23. The words didn't land right away. My voice cracked when I asked, "What does that mean exactly?" "It means this baby couldn't have been conceived during the time you and Vanessa were together," he explained, steady but grim. "From your wife's medical records and everything we discussed about your schedule. You were away in Denver during the real window of conception." Denver, the biggest contract we'd ever taken on. I had lived there nearly 3 weeks straight that January, working 18-hour days to make sure every detail was flawless. Every night I called Vanessa, counting down to when I'd come home. "Doctor, are you certain?" He nodded firmly. "I've run the calculations 3 separate times. There's no doubt. The baby's growth lines up exactly with conception while you were in Denver." The walls seemed to tilt as 15 years of marriage collapsed under a brutal new light. Vanessa's odd moods, her secret calls, the cold distance, the restless nerves, all of it snapped together into a clear image of betrayal. Carefully hidden in plain sight, Dr. Whitmore held my gaze, his expression full of pity, but also anger on my behalf. "Daniel, you're a decent man, far better than this lie. Whatever path you choose now, you must shield yourself and Ethan right away. If you want my advice, walk out of here and file for divorce before Vanessa can twist this any further." But I didn't move. Instead, I asked to see the proof myself. He paused, then turned the screen toward me. There was numbers and charts, bone length, organ growth, every measurement pointing to a conception date that removed all doubt. The child was thriving, but the truth was written in every line of data. This baby could not be mine. Back in the exam room, Vanessa lay with wet streaks on her cheeks, staring at the ceiling like she'd been waiting for this reckoning. She knew the truth had finally caught her. "Show me," I told Dr. Whitmore, my voice calm in a way that startled even me. Vanessa turned her face toward me at last, eyes wide with fear and wet with tears. "Daniel, please, let me explain." I shook my head, my tone like ice. "No, you can't talk your way out of this." I studied the ultrasound for another long moment, memorizing every detail, the evidence that would change everything. Then I looked directly at my wife, the woman I'd loved and trusted for 15 years, the mother of my son, the person who had just destroyed everything I believed about my life and my family. "We're going home," I announced with a supernatural calm that masked the rage building inside me. "We're going to have a very detailed conversation. And then you're going to tell me exactly who he is and how long this has been going on." Vanessa's face drained of all color as the reality of her situation became undeniable. That evening, I made the decision that probably saved my life and my sanity. Instead of exploding emotionally or confronting Vanessa with wild accusations, I got methodical. I had built my business empire through careful planning, systematic execution, and unwavering attention to detail. It was time to apply those same skills to this personal catastrophe. I opened my laptop and began researching like my life depended on it, because it essentially did. My first search was for Adrian Blake. Within minutes, I found comprehensive information about Oakridge's newest operator. Blake Development Group maintained a sleek website showcasing luxury properties across multiple states, with Adrian featured prominently as a charismatic CEO who brings dreams to life through visionary real estate. The man was handsome in that polished, artificial way that immediately repulsed me. Perfect white teeth, expensive designer suits, and a kind of superficial charm that concealed a complete lack of substance. His LinkedIn showed attendance at the same charity fundraiser where he'd likely first encountered Vanessa. His social media painted a picture of someone who thrived on attention, luxury, and public validation. Digging deeper, I discovered that Adrian was married to Rebecca Blake, a prominent attorney in the state capital. They had twin daughters, aged 10, and lived in $1 million home in the city's most exclusive neighborhood. The irony wasn't lost on me. This man was systematically destroying multiple families simultaneously, while presenting himself as a successful family man. Over the following week, I maintained my normal daily routine, while secretly gathering intelligence with the patience of a professional. I told Marcus that Vanessa was experiencing pregnancy complications requiring rest and reduced social activity, which explained her absence from community events and my own distracted demeanor. Marcus, demonstrating the loyalty that had made our partnership thrive, handled extra responsibilities without question or complaint. I hired Victor Shaw, a former police detective turned private investigator who specialized in infidelity cases and had a reputation for discretion, thoroughness, and results. Victor was exactly what I needed: professional, methodical, and completely committed to uncovering the truth regardless of how painful it might be. Within 3 days, Victor delivered comprehensive documentation that painted a devastating picture of calculated betrayal. Vanessa and Adrian had been meeting twice weekly at the Grand View Hotel's luxury suite for 8 months, complete with time-stamped photographs, financial records, and communication logs that revealed the full scope of their deception. The evidence was absolutely damning. Vanessa had been using money from our joint account to pay for hotel accommodations, lying to me about shopping trips or visiting her sister Clara in the neighboring town, while actually driving 40 minutes to meet her lover in rooms that cost more per night than most people earned in a week. But I demanded more than just evidence of physical infidelity. I wanted to understand the complete scope of their betrayal and ensure my response would be comprehensive and permanent. Through Victor's continued investigation, I learned that Vanessa and Adrian had been planning their escape route for months with meticulous detail that rivaled any business strategy. Their plan was diabolically simple. Vanessa would file for divorce immediately after the baby's birth, claiming irreconcilable differences, while hiding the true cause. She'd demand half of everything I had built over 15 years, using the state's equitable distribution laws to fund her new life with Adrian and their child. They had already placed deposits on a luxury penthouse apartment downtown and researched private schools for their future family. The depth of Vanessa's betrayal was staggering, beyond anything I could have imagined. This wasn't a passionate mistake or a momentary weakness. This was systematic, calculated destruction of our marriage, designed to maximize her financial gain while minimizing consequences for her choices. During this week of intense investigation, Vanessa grew increasingly nervous and paranoid, sensing my emotional distance, but apparently believing she could maintain her charade through sheer determination. She even had the audacity to ask me about paint colors of nursery while continuing her twice-weekly meetings with Adrian, playing devoted wife while actively planning our family's destruction. My respect for her evaporated completely. The woman I had loved had revealed herself as a manipulative person capable of looking me directly in the eyes while lying about the most fundamental aspects of our life together. But I wasn't finished gathering ammunition for the war I was planning. Through Victor's investigation, I discovered that Adrian Blake was far more than just an adulterer. He was a criminal whose business practices provided multiple avenues for legal destruction. During a business meeting I arranged under the pretense of potential partnership, Cross Development Group's reputation made us attractive to any developer. Adrian eagerly revealed details about his various projects, while inadvertently confessing to numerous regulatory violations and illegal cost-cutting measures. I found that sometimes you have to be creative with environmental regulations, Adrian said with conspiratorial wink, apparently believing he was impressing a simple small-town contractor. Environmental impact studies can be interpreted flexibly if you know the right people in the regulatory agencies. I nodded thoughtfully while secretly recording every word on my phone. That sounds very interesting. I'd love to see some of your sites firsthand to understand your methods. Over the following week, I visited 3 of Adrian's current projects, documenting everything with photographer's precision. Safety violations that endanger workers, environmental damage that violated federal regulations, building code violations that compromised structural integrity, and evidence of bribery involving local inspectors. Each site visit provided more ammunition for the legal destruction I was planning. Adrian had been cutting corners everywhere, prioritizing profit over safety, legality, or basic human decency. His entire business empire was built on fraud, corruption, and criminal negligence. Meanwhile, I worked with my attorney Nathan Cole, an old friend who had helped me build Cross Development Group from nothing, to restructure the company's corporate organization, protecting assets from any potential divorce settlement through legitimate legal strategies. Daniel, if you're concerned about liability issues, we can create a more complex corporate structure that shields personal assets from business risks, Nathan suggested during one of our confidential meetings. Do it, I replied without hesitation. I want everything protected. The house, the business, Ethan's college fund, every asset we control. 2 weeks after the ultrasound revelation, I was ready. Unlike my construction projects that created something valuable, this campaign would systematically dismantle the lives of people who betrayed my trust and threatened my family's future. Phase 1. I contacted the Environmental Protection Agency with comprehensive documentation of violations at Adrian's construction sites. The evidence was overwhelming. Photographs, recorded conversations admitting illegal practices, and documentation of environmental damage that put both workers and the public at risk. Phase 2. I contacted the Internal Revenue Service with detailed information about Adrian's tax fraud schemes, including offshore accounts and unreported income that constituted federal crimes. Phase 3. I contacted Rebecca Blake. Adrian's unsuspecting wife deserved to know the truth about her husband's double life before making any decisions about her family's future. Mrs. Blake, my name is Daniel Cross. I have critical information about your husband that you need to know immediately. Could we meet for coffee this morning? Rebecca's voice was cautious but curious. I'm not sure what this could be about, Mr. Cross. Your husband is having an affair with my wife, and they're planning to abandon both of our families. I have extensive documentation, and I thought you should see everything before making decisions about your future and your daughter's welfare. We met at a coffee shop near Rebecca's law office, where I presented copies of everything Victor had gathered, surveillance photographs, hotel receipts, text messages, and the ultrasound proving Vanessa was carrying Adrian's child. Rebecca Blake was an impressive woman, intelligent, composed, and clearly devastated by the evidence, but determined to handle the situation with professional competence rather than emotional collapse. As a family law attorney, she understood the legal implications immediately and began formulating strategy while processing the personal betrayal. This documentation is incredibly comprehensive, she said, reviewing everything with a lawyer's eye for detail. You've essentially built an airtight case against both of them. That was precisely my intention. I replied, your husband has been planning to abandon you and your daughters for my wife. They believe they're going to take half of everything I built to fund their new life together. Rebecca's eyes hardened with a determination I recognized from my own mirror. Not if I file first. Adrian doesn't realize I've been documenting his suspicious behavior for months. Combined with your evidence, we can ensure he faces appropriate consequences. We spent the next hour coordinating our legal strategies with precision that would have impressed military commanders. Rebecca would file for divorce that afternoon, seeking full custody of their daughters and requesting comprehensive forensic accounting of all Adrian's business dealings and personal assets. Her extensive legal connections would ensure the process moved quickly and aggressively, catching Adrian completely off guard before he could hide assets or manipulate the situation. The timing was crucial. Everything had to happen simultaneously to prevent either Vanessa or Adrian from escaping consequences or coordinating their defense. Monday morning arrived like Judgment Day. At exactly 7 a.m., while Vanessa was still sleeping and Ethan was preparing for school, I made the calls that would bring it all crashing down. Within 24 hours, the domino effect exceeded even my expectations. Federal agents raided Adrian's office with search warrants related to environmental violations. Rebecca filed for divorce with emergency motions, freezing all assets. Major investors pulled funding, citing reputational concerns. Criminal charges were filed for the embezzlement Victor had uncovered during his investigation. Vanessa watched her elaborate escape plan disintegrate in real time as the man she had betrayed our family for transformed from luxury lifestyle provider to federal criminal facing serious prison time. When she finally reached Adrian by phone, he was barely coherent. Everything's completely ruined. Federal agents seized everything. Rebecca's frozen all our accounts. Every investor is backing out. I don't understand how this happened so quickly. Daniel happened, Vanessa told him, with bitter recognition of the trap they'd walked into. He knew everything. He's been planning our destruction for weeks. That conversation ended with Adrian hanging up, leaving Vanessa alone, surrounded by the wreckage of choices that seemed so clever just days before. The aftermath was swift, brutal, and absolutely final. Adrian Blake received 7 years in federal prison for embezzlement and environmental crimes. His business collapsed into bankruptcy, with assets seized to pay restitution. His reputation was destroyed beyond any possibility of recovery. Vanessa gave birth to their daughter Lila in December, facing motherhood completely alone, while the baby's father served time in federal prison. The once proud mayor's daughter now works part-time at a grocery store, living in a small apartment, struggling through single motherhood, supported only by welfare and minimal alimony. The infidelity clause in our prenuptial agreement, which Vanessa had completely forgotten about during her planning, voided most of her financial protections and left her with barely enough to survive. Her dreams of luxury and sophistication had transformed into exactly the kind of life she had always looked down upon. Meanwhile, my life improved dramatically in every measurable way. The divorce was finalized with Vanessa receiving far less than she had expected. Cross Development Group landed major new contracts as clients appreciated the integrity I demonstrated during the crisis. My business expanded into additional states and now employs over 400 people. Ethan handled everything with remarkable maturity, though I could see the pain in his eyes when he thought I wasn't watching. We grew even closer through crisis, spending evenings working on garage projects and weekends exploring hiking trails around Oakridge while rebuilding our lives on a foundation of honesty. I eventually found genuine love again with Elise Harper, a widow who had moved to town to be near her adult children. We built our relationship carefully over 18 months, both understanding the critical importance of an authentic foundation rather than rushing into commitment based on loneliness or rebound emotions. 3 years later, the transformation is complete and permanent. Vanessa has continued rebuilding her life through genuine effort and hard work. She graduated from community college, earned a promotion to assistant manager, and seems to finally understand that choices have consequences that can't be avoided through charm or manipulation. Adrian still has 5 years remaining in federal prison. Rebecca has successfully moved their daughters across the country, where they're building new lives free from their father's criminal legacy. Dr. Whitmore retired, but occasionally joins me for coffee to discuss the ethical challenges of his profession. "You handled that situation better than anyone could have expected," he told me recently. "It took courage for me to tell you the truth, but everyone involved needed to face reality instead of living in elaborate lies." Looking back with perfect clarity, I have zero regrets. Not about trusting Vanessa initially, not about how I handled discovering the truth, not about the consequences that follow for everyone involved. My only regret is that it required such a devastating crisis to show me the difference between the life I thought I wanted and the authentic life I actually needed. The foundation is solid now, built on bedrock of truth rather than sand of deception. Whatever challenges the future holds, I'm completely prepared, surrounded by people whose love is genuine and whose loyalty has been tested under extreme pressure and proven absolutely reliable. The ultrasound that revealed the lie ultimately delivered the truth that set everyone free to build better lives. Sometimes the most devastating betrayal leads to the most positive transformation, if you handle it with patience, intelligence, and strategic planning rather than raw emotional reaction. If this story touched your heart, leave your love in the comments and tell me what kind of story you want to see next. It really helps us know what resonates with you the most.